Hey everyone, welcome to Learnetude. So in today's question, we have to choose a word which is closest to the meaning of the given following words. In a way, we have to find a synonym. So the first is unpleasant. In the previous classes, we have discussed about prefix and suffix in some words which came up in our question, and un is un or un is a very common prefix. What are prefix? Prefix are the words which are added before a word to alter its meaning, and prefix un means opposite of or not. So here we have to find first the meaning of the word pleasant, and then we'll be able to understand or infer the meaning of unpleasant. So what's the meaning of pleasant? Pleasant is an adjective which means something which is soothing to the eyes. And if about a person, then a pleasant person is someone who is friendly, he or she is soft-spoken, or a happy person, or something which gives us happiness. Alright, so we know the meaning of pleasant. Now, adding a prefix to the word pleasant, we get unpleasant. And what does it mean? Unpleasant as an adjective, it means something which is disagreeable or something which causes discomfort, unhappiness, or revulsions. And if it is used to describe a person, then unpleasant person would be someone who is unfriendly or inconsiderate and rude in their behavior or manner. For example, Raj tried a new chocolate brand and it had a very unpleasant taste. Alright, so let's explore our options A, B, C, and D. We have to find a word which is similar to unpleasant, a synonym of unpleasant. So first is tedious. What is the meaning of tedious? Tedious is an adjective which means too long, slow, or dull, or tiresome, or monotonous. An example of tedious I can give is, it was a tedious hike across the mountains. Sometimes you go on a trip, you hike the mountains, and it becomes tedious. Tedious things can be unpleasant, and unpleasant things can cause discomfort. But tedious merely as an adjective describes monotony and focuses on disinterest in something. But broadly speaking, tedious here is not an appropriate answer or option to be considered, because it, in the broader sense, tedious does not mean disagreeable or offensive like unpleasant. So it is not the direct synonym of the word unpleasant, and therefore it's not the right answer. Let's move on to our next option, option number B. It is awful. So what does awful mean? Awful is again an adjective which means very bad or unpleasant. For example, the new restaurant had an awful smell. So awful is the right answer. It is the direct synonym of word unpleasant. Why? Because it captures the negative and disagreeable quality of unpleasant. If something is awful, it is likely to be unpleasant. So awful and unpleasant both have a similar emotional impact and are closer in meanings. Option number C is dilapidated. Dilapidated is an adjective and it is mainly used in terms of things, referring to a thing. If I say of a building or object, if an object is in a state of disrepair or ruin as a result of ages or neglect. For example, a dilapidated drum. Does this remind you of something? It reminds me of the Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh, which we have or you will read in class 11th NCERT book. So dilapidated is mainly related to physical objects, or we can say non-living things, and it describes the physical condition of something. For instance, something is decaying, whereas unpleasant is mainly a feeling. So option C, dilapidated, is not closest in meaning to unpleasant, not related to a feeling, right? It's a physical state. Next, we have option number D. Diminutive is also an adjective which means extremely or unusually small. For example, bonsai trees are diminutive. So again, diminutive is not related to unpleasant, and not is the right or suitable choice to be considered for unpleasant as a synonym. Why? Because diminutive is a physical condition or a state of something, and unpleasant is more of a feeling. Number second is crooked, and it's an adjective which means bent or twisted, out of shape or out of place. For example, my umbrella was a bit crooked after the storm. And second, in informal sense, it can mean something which is dishonest or illegal. For example, a crooked company or a crooked politician or a crooked business. Option number A, twisted, is an adjective which means forced out of its natural or proper shape, something which is crumpled. For example, a twisted chain or a twisted rope or a twisted necklace. And second meaning of word twisted, in a way of thinking or of a personality, means unpleasantly or unhealthily abnormal or something which is warped. For example, the man arrested for the crime had a twisted and cruel mind. So option A, twisted, aligns with our word crooked. Both have dishonest connotation as well as out of shape and out of place meanings. So this seems to be the right answer. So let's mark twisted for now and come back to it, because we need to check other options as well before deciding the right answer. Then we have option number B, fabricated. What does fabricate means? Fabricated is an adjective which means false, invented, or produced in order to deceive someone. So fabricated means something which is invented or produced with wrong intentions to harm someone, to deceive someone. For example, the husband's story of his missing wife was fabricated. Second meaning of fabricated is something which is produced or manufactured in an industrial process. For example, a fabricated door, a fabricated window, etc. Something which is produced in factories. So fabricated is different in meaning to our word crooked, and both have different meanings and are not linked to one another, right? Next we have idle is an adjective. In terms of a person, it can mean avoiding work or being lazy. For example, idle students sitting in the canteen. And second meaning can be without purpose or effect, that is pointless. For example, today we had an idle seminar. So idle is not the correct answer. Both idle and crooked have very different meanings. Fine. Option D. So broken is an adjective, and broken is the past participle or third form of the word break, which is a verb. It means to interrupt something or to separate pieces as a result of blow or shock or some strain. For example, my friend had a broken arm. Second meaning of broken in terms of a person is having given up all hopes or despairing. For example, the broken soldiers were returning from the war. Now, if we compare broken with crooked, then they may seem close enough. Broken means something is not functioning properly. It is damaged or fractured. For example, if you remember Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets movie, then during the Quidditch match, Harry gets injured by a bludger and his arm is broken. So broken arm appears to be crooked, that is out of shape, but not everything crooked that is twisted is broken, that is fractured or separated into pieces. So option E, twisted, is much more suitable as a synonym and is closest in meaning to crooked. So option D is also fine, but in comparison, option A is the right answer. Question number 3 is mischievous. So mischievous, what does it mean? It is a very common English word, especially among children. So it's an adjective which means causing or showing a fondness for causing trouble in a playful way. For example, my neighbor's children are very mischievous. That is, they are naughty or misbehaving or disobedient. Second meaning of mischievous is in terms of an action or statement, causing or intended to cause harm or trouble. For example, a famous Hollywood actress was in the news for a mischievous allegation. Our task now is to find a word from the options A, B, C, and D, which is closest to the meaning of mischievous. A synonym of mischievous, right? So let's get started. First is creepy. What's creepy? Creepy is an adjective. In informal reference, it means causing an unpleasant feeling of fear or unease. For example, yesterday I saw a creepy insect in the bathroom. So option A, creepy, is more of a feeling, while mischievous is a description of a behavior in terms of meaning. So option A, creepy, is different and not the right answer. Fine. Next is option B, calm. Whoa. So what comes in your mind when I say my sister has two kids, one is calm and one is mischievous? Mischievous kid would be a kid or a child who is having the naughty behavior, while a calm kid or a calm child would be opposite of mischievous. A calm child or a calm kid would be obedient and would sit properly and would play without harming others, without causing any trouble, right? So, calm is an adjective which means not showing or feeling nervousness, anger, or other strong emotions. For example, today I saw a calm kid in the park. This means that this child was playing or sitting quietly. He or she was not troubling his parents or other kids, and he or she was not putting himself or herself in the trouble by running here and there or hanging from the swings or trees or getting injured, etc. In a way, calm is peaceful or pacific. And if we talk about weather, then calm is pleasantly free from the wind. Thus, option B, calm, is opposite and an antonym of mischievous. So it is not the right answer. If the question was to find the opposite or antonym of the word mischievous, then calm would be the right answer, but our task is to find the synonym or a word similar in meaning to mischievous. So calm is not the right answer. Then we have option C, impish. So impish is an adjective which means inclined to do slightly naughty things for fun or being mischievous. So impish is the right answer as it directly means mischievous. This is our right answer, but we have to see option number D as well. Infuriated is a verb which means to make someone extremely angry and impatient. While a mischievous person can show signs of impatience and anger, he or she can be infuriated, and mischievous people do make others angry and annoy with their behaviors. But infuriate is not related to being playful or naughty. Infuriate as a verb is more focused on a reaction from someone, the other person, and mischievous, on the other hand, as an adjective, is not dependent directly on someone's reaction. For example, if a child infuriates his parents in a cinema hall or a mall or a park, that means the child is doing something which makes his parents angry. While mischievous child is playfully naughty, he or she is behaving naughty regardless of his parents' reaction. A naughty child will act and behave like that, not necessarily with the purpose or intention of making others angry, provoking others. So out of all the four options, option C is the most fittest and is closest in meaning to our word mischievous, because it conveys the same sense of playful, slightly naughty or teasing behavior with a similar light-hearted tone. Rest of all the other three options, they are not directly related to mischievous and they do not have, or they lack the playful aspect of mischievous. Fine. Next, question number 4 is predicament. Predicament is a noun which means a difficult, unpleasant, or embarrassing situation. For example, Mira is going through a financial predicament. Let's take a look at the options A, B, C, and D. We have to find a word which is similar to predicament in meaning, right? First is splendid. It is an adjective which means magnificent or something which is very impressive. An example of splendid would be, what a splendid view from the Eiffel Tower. So splendid is not closest in meaning to predicament and is not the right answer. Next, option number B is dilemma, and dilemma is a noun which means a situation in which a difficult choice has to be made between two or more alternatives, especially ones that are equally undesirable. For example, the war left many people in dilemma. Or in the movie Twilight, Bella was quite in dilemma when she made the choice of moving to Forks. So dilemma is the right answer, as it also refers to a difficult situation or problem similar to predicament. But we also have to see the other options C and D. So option number C is dazzling. Dazzling is an adjective which means extremely bright, especially so as to blind the eyes temporarily. For example, the car coming from the opposite side had a very dazzling beam, or something which is extremely impressive, beautiful, or skillful. For example, the dazzling beauty of actresses. Now, in comparison to our given question word predicament, both option A, splendid, and dazzling, they have both a positive connotation and they are adjectives rather than a noun. Dazzling describes something admirable, whereas predicament refers to a difficult situation. Thus, option C is not the right answer, as it has no connection to the negative or problematic nature of predicament, right? Improbability means the quality of being improbable, that is unlikelihood. Improbable, what does it mean? Improbable means not likely to be true or to happen. Improbable is an adjective, and from this comes the noun improbability. For example, the improbability of an alien attack on our Earth. So comparing to predicament and our previously suitable match option B dilemma, improbability makes a poor match here. Although yes, predicament might involve uncertain outcomes, but improbability describes the unlikelihood of an event or a situation. It is not the situation in itself. So improbability lacks the sense of difficulty or being stuck that defines predicament, and it makes a poor match here in the answer. So it is not the right answer. So we are left with only option number B, which is fit of the fittest, and is the right answer. Fine. Question number 5, wretchedness. So wretchedness comes from the adjective wretched of a person in a very unhappy or unfortunate state. For example, Samuel felt wretched after Nida rejected his proposal. Second meaning is used to express anger or annoyance. Now carefully look at the NESS, which we have added as a suffix to our word wretched. So when we add suffix to an adjective, it forms an abstract noun, right? NESS, it indicates a state or quality or condition of being that adjective. Wretchedness is an abstract noun, which means the condition of being in a very unhappy or unfortunate state. For example, the recent floods in Punjab and other states of North India caused wretchedness. Now let's look at our 4 options. First is option number A, desolation. Desolation is a noun which means a state of complete emptiness or destruction. For example, the desolation of the planet Mars. And second meaning is great unhappiness or loneliness. For example, she watched him marry someone else with great desolation. Or serving the sentence in the prison was not easy for Tony. He lived in desolation. Now, if we look at both wretchedness and desolation, then both describe distress or misery. Both have a sense of hopelessness, and both words convey a similar emotional and situational state. So let's mark option A for now as the suitable correct answer, but we have to look at options B, C, and D as well. Option B is fraudulent. Fraudulent is an adjective which means obtained or done by or involving deception, especially criminal deception. What's deception? Deception is act of deceiving someone, that is deliberately causing someone to believe something which is not true, especially for personal gain. So fraudulent is irrelevant here and not the right answer. It is not corrected to our given word wretchedness in the question. Wretchedness is a feeling of suffering or misery, whereas fraudulent is related to dishonesty, falsehood. Right? Next is indispensable is an adjective which means absolutely necessary. For example, taking climate action is indispensable to achieving sustainable development and protecting our planet. Now, indispensable carries positive or neutral connotation. It describes something essential, irreplaceable, and vital. So, indispensable is not related to the negative, suffering-laden state of wretchedness. Both the words wretchedness and indispensable are very different in meaning, and therefore indispensable is not the suitable or right answer here. Next we have option number D, selflessness. Selflessness, again we are seeing the suffix NESS. So selfless is an adjective which means concerned more with the needs and wishes of others than one's own, that is unselfish, someone who is unselfish. And when we add any SS suffix to our adjective, then it becomes an abstract noun, which means the quality of caring about what other people need and want than about what you yourself need and want. It is often associated with kindness or sacrifice. For example, during the war, the selflessness of the army was admirable and admired by the civilians. The selflessness is a positive trait and is totally different in meaning and unconnected to the misery or distress implied by wretchedness. Thus, the only option A, desolation, matches our word wretchedness in meaning and is the best and suitable correct answer.